Coming up on Tech News Today, we've been doing this show for a year, but I've changed everyone else around me. I can't keep anyone around these days. Also, HP to license WebOS. We're going to talk about that. Twitter tweaks search and photos, and Microsoft locks down its tablet OS. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Wednesday, June 1st, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by Netflix. Watch thousands of TV episodes and movies streamed to your PC, Mac, or TV instantly. Plus, get DVDs by mail in about a business day. For your free 30-day trial, go to netflix.com/twit. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz, Akhtar.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And this is our one-year birthday.
Yeah! Party!
Woo!
Party. So, who's got the cake?
Happy anniversary. Yeah, are they going to come in like any second now with the hats and the songs?
Let's wait a minute. We got to pretend that we don't know that they're about to do that. We have to act surprised.
There's anything. I think
I'm
everyone
sure
left for lunch.
It's probably
actually.
just, any other show. No one's going to come in, so we'll just...
No one's going to come in.
No one's going to come in
Surprise
and
us.
be like, happy anniversary, 1 year strong.
Nobody's coming in.
No one's coming.
Yeah.
Oh.
But
Okay.
I have managed to change entirely the lineup of the show in less than a year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What is that?
Nobody
What
in
is
here
that?
but me was on that episode.
That's true.
Oh, that's true.
Eric Lanigan.
Is that a statement about you?
Becky Worley.
A year ago
the
today,
show?
you and I both had our official first day as full-time TWiT employees.
Right.
But I wasn't on the first TNT show.
No, because you were just doing Mondays and Fridays, and
That's
we
right.
actually started on a
On a
Tuesday. Because of Memorial
Yes.
Day. Yeah.
It was the day after Memorial Day.
We're completing each other's
Episode
sentences.
one.
I know. It's like,
So
we're
cute.
just like,
So
yes.
episode 1 was called The Beard and the Blonde. What should we
Right.
call this episode?
We'll call this Two Beards.
The beard,
and
the apricot, the Pakistani, and Jason.
And the really tall guy. the
Tall guy.
I like it.
All right.
All right, let's get into some news. Enough of this celebratory nonsense. We're a very
Right.
serious tech news show.
All right.
And we're going to talk about Twitter's new photo product. Take that, YFrog and TwitPic. Twitter has appropriated once again another of the third-party developers' features, integrating photos and video into search. Twitter's CEO Dick Costolo showed it off at D9. It'll be rolling out over the next few weeks to the web, mobile to follow after that. Photos and videos will be hosted by PhotoBucket. Remember them? They don't get as much press as, say, your Flickrs and your Picassos, but they are
Been around a long time.
Been
In
around
fact,
for
they
quite a
do
while.
video, too, which I
That's
mean,
right.
the name, obviously, was chosen before video got added.
If you are on what they call a dumb phone, one that doesn't have apps, and you access Twitter by text, you'll be able to text your photos and videos. The Twitter is actually working with the carriers to enable that. And all of this stuff is being integrated into a new tweaked search. They think the search is going to be more relevant, but also you'll get the ability to have photo and video results show up when you search for different terms.
Yeah, I got to try out the little photo search thing, and I think we looked up cats or monkeys or something. It's very similar to Flickr. And there's a little timeline on the top, and you can click it, and you'll see the photo in the middle. And on the bottom, there's obviously the Twitter information, the tweet. You can hit reply, favorite it. I mean, it's a nice little experience, but it also indexes YFrog, Instagram. It's not just going to be about Twitter uploaded photos on PhotoBucket.
Yeah, it's interesting because Twitter had said this will be rolling out, but both Tom and Iyaz can actually access pictures already. I cannot. But my first question was, well, are they only going to index Twitter's own picture service? But no, they'll be indexing everything, and then I guess just as long as their own service is the most convenient, people will just gradually stop using the TwitPics and the YFrogs.
Yeah, apps can continue to use YFrog and TwitPic as much as they want, but the Twitter official version, if you're on the web using Twitter and you want to add a photo, or if you're using the official Twitter mobile app, I presume, that will all go through PhotoBucket. Dick Costolo was asked by Walt Mossberg on stage at D9, is this a slap in the face to these independent parties like TwitPic who've developed this, and now you've just once again, you've gone and stolen a feature from somebody.
Well, hosting an image file is not exactly like a super novel idea. I mean, I think I've seen that on the web for a while. So just that they added it to Twitter, because Twitter was very, very basic. It was 140 characters. That was it. I mean, that's why all these link shortening services even showed up, because Twitter was really stringent about this. You couldn't put a link with with actual HTML. So I don't know how big a deal this is for third parties, because they're already in so many applications already. The fact that you would have to switch, I don't know if people will do that.
Dick Costello said he challenged them to move up the value chain.
So offer more things that they will eventually integrate?
Yes, exactly. Keep ahead of Twitter.
Keep giving us more
I think
ideas.
that's what Twitter wants. They're like, look, we're going to take these ideas as you develop them, the ones that are best, and put them in the product. They've done that from the very beginning. Don't forget the @ symbol was not part of Twitter. Users just started doing that, and they said, let's make that an official part. Retweeting.
Retweeting buttons were never part of Twitter. It was just something that happened organically.
So it's their process to say, go out and do things, and then we'll take the best stuff and make it official, and you should continue to try other new things.
Well, this kind of growth, does it make a lot of sense considering what Twitter used to be? It was this very limited thing. Now it's starting to kind of feel like a blog. I mean, there's things like Deckly that they have, so they can actually have longer tweets in there if you want. You can kind of treat it like a real, kind of like a WordPress blog or a Squarespace blog. So are they moving further and further away from what they originally were?
They're growing, and Costello couldn't even define what Twitter was when he was asked to define Twitter. He said, "I don't even think we have to.
No need for it."
Yeah, I guess they self-define. So what is Twitter?
It's like
they're Twitter.
That's like their business plan.
Yeah.
What is it? We don't know what it is.
You've never seen anything like it.
Well, I mean, what is it? If you were to be put on the spot, I mean, it's hard to define.
Yeah.
What is Twitter?
Well, it's a microblog. That's my favorite
that's how
definition.
It started. Yeah, I mean, that's what I would say too if I had to pick something. But I mean, it's clearly so much more. Today
it's a social thing with synergy and other buzzwords.
Right. Not pivoting just
and bacon.
Expanding.
Don't forget about bacon.
Yeah. Acquiring.
Our next story is something that is new in the world. OS 10 in an arms race with malware. Windows is sitting in the corner laughing at OS 10 right now. Apple updated Snow Leopard Tuesday, warning users. The update will warn users if they've downloaded the Mac Defender piece of malware. It will also scrub infected machines and prevent Mac Defender from being downloaded. Within 8 hours of the update's release, Mac Defender developers issued a variant of Mac Defender that eludes detection. The new variant is called mdinstall.pkg.
So they just changed the name of it effectively, and that's smart enough to
I think they probably did more than just change the name, but it started the arms race now, right?
It means that they have to keep that Apple has to keep updating their. I mean, they're gonna have feature bloat now. They're gonna have to have much more updates per day to see. Okay, what came out this day? This
OS
week.
10 did have malware detection already, and it updated every so often, did a scan every so often. So in addition to adding the definition for Mac Defender to that malware scan, they've also increased the number of times it scans and the number of times it phones home for new definitions. So conceivably, all they have to do to catch this new one is have a new definition downloaded to the security system on OS 10 without having to put a full patch in. Although they're going to have to do a patch anyway, because apparently there's a bug in the security settings. If you leave the security settings pane open for more than 30 seconds, you cannot save your security changes.
Isn't that crazy?
Because if you don't want it phoning home getting definitions, you have to go to the security settings and say, hey, don't do that, because it's on by default.
So then Apple has to be careful about saying we don't have malware. They do have malware.
They can't say that anymore. Yeah. And they're also in that same arms race that Windows has been in for decades. Lots of news being made at the D9 conference, All Things D conference. HP CEO Leo Apotheker.
Apotheker.
We'll just call him the A-Dog.
Okay.
No, we won't call him that. But the HP CEO was on stage talking about, the advantages of being huge and all of those sorts of things. Josh Topolsky of thisismynext.com asked Apotheker if HTC came by. Well, we actually have the video, actually. Let's watch. This is an interesting exchange because he started by asking Apotheker, would you license WebOS to other businesses? And Apotheker said, well, of course. I mean, if enterprise wants to, modify it, or small business or embedded systems like appliances might want to use it. And Josh is like, well, wait a minute. I want to pin you down on this.
License it to, or would you say if I'm HTC and I came to you, and I wanted to make a WebOS phone, is that something you would
That is
think
certainly
about?
something that we would entertain.
Oh, it's very interesting. Thanks.
So that was, I think, an unexpected response for Topolsky's part, because Apotheker kind of gave this gaseous grimace when that is, yes, he's like, yeah, okay, fine. I guess I have to admit yes.
I think gaseous grimace. I mean, he was trying to just give a coy response. I mean, he didn't say anything. He didn't announce anything. I mean, of course they can entertain anything they want. Doesn't mean that they're going to create relationships.
Yeah, but
with all
I
these ideas.
think what maybe we were all expecting was Apotheker to say, that's something we'd have to consider. We really want to make WebOS our own, first. And
yeah, it was almost too positive to be just sort of a throwaway response.
Well, the thing about WebOS is up against Android and iOS, and they have a lot of app development in those camps. And if HP is just closing off WebOS to just the touchpad and only HP, there's not going to be a lot of motivation to make applications for these devices. So to open it up to something like HTC, which makes all kinds of phones, Windows Phone 7 phones, Android devices, and whatever else they want, it makes a lot of sense for HP if they want to be an actual player in this game.
Asked about RIM's playbook, Apotheker said, the one lesson I have learned from this, and I'm driving my engineers crazy with this, is that we will not release a product that isn't perfect.
So they're never releasing products again.
However, over at the SanDisk booth at Computex in Taiwan, you could see the HP touchpad on display. Actually, there's a video of it. I believe it's from Crunch Gear, where they showed off the HP touchpad. There it is, in all its glory.
Is somebody at SanDisk getting fired right now?
Well, SanDisk makes the memory for the touchpad. That's what it turns out.
No, what it means is it's perfect.
That is the only thing we can. That is the only conclusion we can draw from this.
It's absolutely close to perfect, and that's why we're looking at it right now.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
SanDisk made the memory, and they said HP will make a 16, 32, and 64 gig version.
And that's how you one-up Magical. Perfect.
Okay. Revolutionary? Sure. Magical? Maybe. Perfect? Yes.
Yes.
There's a 4-minute demo video if you want to check it out at Crunch Gear. Also, one thing to note, 2 stereo speakers along one of the long sides of the touchpad. HP, a big proponent of the music side of their tablet experience because they're trying to combat that iPod experience on Apple's iPad. And an unrelated leak from retail says that this will ship by the end of this month for $499.
That's a competitive price. I mean, that's 16 gigabyte, probably Wi-Fi only version. And I don't think, has HP announced any carrier deals for something like the touchpad?
Not that I know of. I don't think they haven't made much of an announcement at all about the touchpad, other than that press conference a couple months back.
I know HP has put a lot of effort into their internal audio being, sort of the next generation, next level stuff. When I see something like 2 stereo speakers along the side of a tablet, I immediately think, ugh, God, I mean, okay,
well,
2 speakers, but it's going to be crappy, but maybe HP knows something that we don't.
Well, HP partners with Beats all the time,
That's
right?
Exactly.
Dr. Dre and Lady Gaga are going to be heavily involved.
Well, then you know it's good. Then you know it's perfect.
You can see the branding right now on the touchpad with Dr. Dre on it.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and thank our sponsor, Netflix, netflix.com/twit. You can try them out for 30 days. We know that a lot of you in the audience already have Netflix. And you're like, well, how do I support Tech News Today if I already have Netflix? I can't get the 30-day free trial because I already pay for it. I know about all the DVDs I can get shipped to my house with no late fees. I know about the amazing selection of streaming videos and the catch-up service for old seasons of television shows. What can I do to help? What you can do is tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a stranger. Or more likely maybe one of your family members, and get them the free 30-day trial. It can be a gift. You got your Father's Day coming up, maybe get Dad, Netflix.com 30-day free trial.
Make your dad the coolest dad on the block with Netflix.
Yeah. He could be watching Pulp Fiction streaming.
You know how dads love to talk about things like this? Watch this, Frank. I just push a button and now the movie's playing.
Clerks, Reservoir Dogs, From Dusk Till Dawn. These are all dad movies, right? What's wrong with Iyaz?
He thinks I do a weird dad impression.
Yeah, your dad impression does not remind me of a dad. I'm a dad, so I'm like, hey, come here, kid. Let me show you my Netflix.
I've given away that I'm not actually anyone's dad.
Yeah, Jason, Iyaz, you're the dads. Would that be a cool gift?
That would be great.
Absolutely.
All right.
If I didn't already have it. But yes.
Exactly. So
it's awesome.
for that dad who doesn't have it.
That's right.
Netflix.com/twit. We thank them for their support of Tech News Today. AMD. Well, you know, Intel had their announcement at Computex yesterday. It was funny, actually. We were looking at the lineup for June 1, 2010 Tech News Today. And we were covering Computex. And we were covering Intel's announcement of a new processor designed for ultra-portable laptops.
Hey, what about that?
Pretty much into the mobile game, then.
Exactly their announcement from yesterday. Well, AMD came back with their announcement, which is pretty impressive. The new tablet chip, the Z-Series Fusion APU, you might have heard it referred to as Desna, is now official. It is their ARM competitor, and their big advantage is they can run Windows 7 right now because it's an x86-based chip. So you could build a Windows tablet immediately. You don't have to wait for the Windows-approved tablet OS. The Z-Series will be an integrated dual 1 GHz Bobcat chips and Radeon HD 6250 graphics chip. It's going to be pretty power-friendly, too. It uses less than 6 watts. MSI has already announced they're going to use it in their forthcoming WindPad 110W. And AMD also announced a high-end quad-core A8 and new Trinity APUs. Trinity will succeed the forthcoming A-Series Llano. Llano's not even out yet. They're already announcing Trinity for 2012.
The thing about AMD is that, I mean, for a while they kind of spurred Intel into really getting off their butts and getting into the game again and saying, look, we're going to make good processors. But then Intel did stuff like Sandy Bridge, and AMD's just sitting there with its APUs, and they're all right. That means it has integrated graphics on the chip, which is nice. You have a little system on a chip. I think it's strange that AMD is not trying to go into the ARM game at all. Like they could go out there and say, we'll license ARM because Intel won't, and now we can be in mobile devices while Intel still tries to figure out how to be a competitor.
I think AMD's saying, you know what? We like this advantage of having x86, and I think they know that they can beat Intel in the mobile market right now. And so they're really pushing that rather than trying to go and start from scratch on ARM. They're saying if we have an advantage over Intel, it's in the mobile area. So let's really push that and see if we can get that advantage taken. The problem, I think, what you're pointing out is that ARM has the advantage over everybody right now.
Yeah, and the other thing about the idea of we can run Windows 7 right now. Well, Windows 7 isn't really optimized for tablets. You can get a touch pack that's built into Windows 7, but that doesn't mean that's going to be a good experience. So just because you can doesn't mean you should in this kind of case.
And we're getting some more details about the Microsoft strategy for Windows 8 on tablets. By the time you listen to this podcast, if you're listening to it on demand, Steve Sinofsky will have already hit the stage at 3:15 p.m. Pacific. In fact, he's up there right now as we're doing the show. He may show off Windows 8 there. Also, there's a partner preview at 7 p.m. Pacific tonight from Computex. They will definitely show off Windows 8. But we're already finding out more details about Acer's complaint from yesterday, saying that Microsoft is encouraging partners to tie exclusively one chip maker to one device manufacturer. Bloomberg reporting that chip suppliers are going to be encouraged to partner with one device maker and select a second company to produce a clamshell-style laptop. So one device maker for a tablet, one for a laptop. The plan is not mandatory, and it doesn't apply to the regular version of Windows 8. It only applies to a special mobile-oriented variant of Windows. In return for complying with the rules, the chip companies will receive certain incentives like richer features or lower software prices when they roll out their devices.
I wonder what features would be held back to any company that says, you know what, Microsoft, we don't really want you to have this much power. We kind of want to do things our way. I mean, what are they not going to get in return?
Well, considering Microsoft,
crappier product?
Well, I would think the experience would be a little iffy because if Microsoft sees, okay, this company is working with this chip maker, we can make the drivers work really well for this one tablet you have. In other words, they don't have to figure out how many different pieces of hardware do we have to support. We already know there's like 6 or 7 chip makers, and we can figure out who your partners are. We know what you're going to sell. This Microsoft buddy system, like, I don't understand. Like, you guys have to pair up. You have to pair up. It's kind of
they're trying to avoid the problems that they've had with Windows Phone 7, where they already have a limited feature set, and yet there's still all of these issues with rolling out updates to all the different devices. They're saying, look, if you play ball, if you make sure that we make the experience great from start to finish, we'll help you do that. I think that's what's going on. Digitimes reporting that chip makers Intel, AMD, TI, Qualcomm, and NVIDIA have been invited by Microsoft to choose manufacturers from a first-round list of participants Dell, HP, and Samsung. That has a lot of independent manufacturers and Taiwanese manufacturers in particular, like Acer and Asus, complaining and saying, hey, why are we left off this list? Why is it limited to Dell, HP, and Samsung? And as Iyaz pointed out in our prep, Samsung makes chips for tablets. Do they get to partner with themselves?
I guess if they will get the incentives, like, yeah, we'll give us a deal. We'll be able to make this work together.
We've thought long and hard about this, and we choose us.
Samsung picks Samsung.
I'm sorry, you're not on the list, Samsung. You can't choose yourself.
I wonder how the actual
Samsung. No, I don't. I'm sorry, I don't see you on the list.
The companies like Dell and HP and Samsung, and not Samsung, but Dell and HP should be kind of furious at Microsoft for telling them what partners they can have for their tablets. I mean, why don't they get a say on what team they're on? Why are they not on AMD or Intel or TI?
Well, you're still free to do whatever you want. It's just if you want to be in this like special Microsoft club that you have to go by the list.
It does seem a bit like the Microsoft Elite experience.
Yeah.
You know, if you want that cool room at the airport, then you play by Microsoft's rules and you get some kickbacks.
You know what? It's similar to Microsoft's Signature Edition computers, where they actually partner or they certify a particular desktop and say, this is the desktop that meets all of our criteria. And that's the one they'll put in the Microsoft stores, and they'll put it online and say, this is one that we say meets our approval. And the key advantage there is you don't get any crapware on it. Right. They don't allow any of those, special introductory software things to be thrown on. The Signature Editions are clean. And
we joke about, the elite group, that sort of thing, but it's like Microsoft does have to figure out where to put its resources, and this actually gives them a better reason to say, listen, we discussed our terms, you guys decided to do your thing, you can do that, but we have to focus our resources on our more clear partnerships.
Breaking news, just before we came down here to do the show, Google disclosed a China-based hijacking of Gmail accounts. According to several different reports, Google says the attacks originated in Jinan, China, targeted user account credentials so that attackers could gain access to personal information, including contacts and email conversations. It was a phishing scheme. They were getting targets, including government officials from the U.S. and several Asian countries, to hand over their passwords. They targeted several political activists, journalists, and military personnel, and the goal seemed to have been to monitor the content of these users' emails. So the emails were silently forwarded to another email account where they could read what they were writing in their email.
Yeah, we've been reporting a lot about hacks, but this isn't something like Google could have done anything about. This is social engineering. This is getting passwords. I mean, the human element is something that can always be exploited, and China was doing it, it looks like, on Gmail. I mean, Gmail has over 190 million users, so the fact that a couple hundred were compromised doesn't sound so bad in the big scale, but the fact of who these people were makes it a little scarier.
If you're worried about this sort of thing, Google encourages you to design more complex passwords. You want a great tip on how to design a complex password you can remember easily? Listen to the latest Security Now. Steve Gibson has hit on a pretty amazing way to have secure, easily memorable passwords. Google also says turn on two-step account verification and only go through the company's https://google.com domain so that you get the secure version of the site when logging on from a web browser. Google accusing China again, though. Those two are going to have to be put in a corner.
I just feel like we're always talking about how people are tricked into sharing their passwords with other people. If you watch that episode of Security Now, then you have no excuse. You will never be phished again.
Well,
hopefully.
It'll help.
Couldn't hurt.
I'm not sure if Steve's giving out any guarantees for that sort of thing.
Well, I just wish we didn't have to report all these. I mean, it's just over and over. It's such a common problem.
Eric Schmidt was also on stage at D9 this morning talking about all kinds of things, including social networking. He said there are 4 companies dominating consumer technology today: Apple, Amazon, Facebook, and Google. And he called them frenemies.
Aww.
Because they're friends,
Wait,
but
what
they're
about
also
Microsoft?
enemies.
They're huge.
They asked him about Microsoft. He said Microsoft just isn't doing the kinds of things that need to be done to be part of our gang of 4. He said Microsoft's not driving the consumer revolution in the minds of the consumers.
Right.
He says the Xbox is a big success, but it's not a platform at the computational level. Microsoft is still fundamentally about Office and Windows.
Especially
He's calling them old-fashioned.
They're not exactly friends either. So like they're probably just enemies.
Well, they're not exactly. You know, Google and
They're not
Facebook aren't
frenemies. They're just
exactly
enemies.
friends either. But Schmidt is quick to say, "Listen, Facebook did a lot of things right. They're really leading the revolution. They're absolutely a frenemy of ours."
That's why they're frenemies, because they will both say nice things about each other and then slander each other, and we're using other means, right? Using PR companies and things like that.
He gave Facebook credit for creating a way to have an identity on the internet that is unambiguous. And he said he recently looked up memos he wrote 4 years ago about Google needing to address online identity. And Schmidt said, "I clearly knew that I had to do something, and I failed to do it. A CEO should take responsibility. I screwed up." And then he cried.
It's a gutsy thing to say. The crying thing, I don't think that happened.
Is it really gutsy, though? I mean,
well, he's not doing the Carol Barks method.
I saw this quote going around, started last night, and everyone's like, "Wow, can you believe Eric Schmidt admitted that he was in control when they screwed up social strategy?" Well, he was the CEO, so yes, it is his fault. That's sort of the way it goes.
You never hear CEOs say
the news is
that.
him saying it. Because if you imagine Steve Jobs saying, "Oh yeah, we screwed up," or Steve Ballmer.
Well, he's also not CEO right now.
If Steve Ballmer said, "I screwed up,"
it's easier to say so.
That's a good point.
Yeah, Eric Schmidt is not CEO, so he's like, "This is why I'm not CEO. I sucked."
Yeah, that's why he still has a nice, lucrative job still at Google.
I just feel like it's sort of an obvious thing to say. I guess people can appreciate the fact that he's being transparent about wishing he had done some things differently, but I don't think it's that amazing. I think it's his responsibility to say, "Yes, I was in control and it's my fault."
So you want more CEOs to admit it?
Yes.
So we're talking to Carol Barks again.
Perhaps.
Okay.
Also in Google News, more buttons to clutter up websites. Google's +1 buttons rolled out for select websites today. They're partnering with sites like Mashable, Huffington Post, Rotten Tomatoes, Nordstrom, TechCrunch, Washington Post, Reuters. You'll see them out there. So now you don't have to go do a search to +1 a result. You can just be on a page and say, "I really like this page on Nordstrom. I'm going to +1 it."
So now what I'll be able to do is I'll like it for Facebook, I'll follow it for Twitter, and I'll +1 it for Google. And I can just go ahead and be expected to do that every time I go to a site that I kind of like.
You could join the masses and just ignore it like everyone else.
You're not going to Reddit it or dig it
Maybe
or
I will.
delicious it or
what if you used like Command D and bookmarked it?
Read it later.
read later it.
We have a lot of instant buttons that are appearing on some of the sites that we use a lot.
You're also going to see +1 buttons on Android Market, Blogger, YouTube, and Google's product search, which I still kind of wish they called Frugal.
Well, that name, they got rid of that
But
a long time ago.
That was probably bad branding. On down to the news fuse. What if there were an Amazon for illegal drugs?
Sounds good to me.
In these days of seized websites for MP3s, you probably think that's going to be shut down in seconds. No. Silk Road is a website only reachable using Tor that only takes payments in the untraceable Bitcoin currency and uses user reviews to separate scammers from legitimate businessmen. If there's a weak point, it's that you still have to use the good old postal system for delivery. So, P.O. Box.
A Motorola website redesign may have leaked a bunch of Moto's future products, including the Zoom 2, several slim phones, and some kind of watch device called the Tracy XL, named after Dick Tracy. Screen grabs of the site were posted on Pocket Now. Motorola has since asked Pocket Now, "Can you guys remove those pics, please?" Which means maybe those pics are the real deal.
Today, Hulu Plus just added 27 Miramax movies like Pulp Fiction, Scream, and some Kevin Smith flicks. The movies will stream ad-free and cannot be viewed without Hulu Plus for right now. Hulu plans to offer a rotating selection of 15 movies on a monthly basis for the free version of Hulu, complete with ads. The Miramax collection will grow by the hundreds in the next coming months.
What does the future hold for OpenOffice.org now that Oracle will no longer develop the Office suite? Oracle is proposing that its code be contributed to the Apache Software Foundation's Incubator. As the name suggests, Incubator would be a temporary home for the software suite, if it's accepted, that is, before reaching a project or sub-project status. The Document Foundation, which develops LibreOffice, that's the one that forked off of OpenOffice back when Oracle bought Sun, LibreOffice issued a statement saying it believes that Apache would be a good home for OpenOffice, but they kind of wish that they just didn't have two versions.
Netflix CEO Reed Hastings sat down at the D9 conference and never got up. No, I'm just kidding. He revealed that Netflix service is due to roll out to a second country in the second half of the year. He believes that fiber networks and Wi-Fi-enabled TVs are key for Netflix's expansion. Hastings also addressed Netflix's lack of social features by saying there's a 5-year plan in place to integrate Facebook services.
Wouldn't that be a third country since they're in Canada
Second this year.
and the U.S.?
Right, but there's the second one rolling out
Is
this
Canada
year.
actually its own country, though?
Yes.
As in
I'm
they rolled
kidding.
out.
My gosh, I'm kidding.
It's 2 countries. Actually, 3 countries.
Third overall, second this year is what the thing was about.
Okay.
FoxNews.com reports that military contractor Northrop Grumman Corp. May have been subject to a cyber attack. On May 26th, Northrop Grumman shut down remote access to its network. According to Fox's source, the military contractor had never done that kind of shutdown without warning before. Officially, Northrop Grumman, I can't say it, neither confirms nor denies, neither confirms nor denies such an attack occurred.
A draft report to NATO Parliamentary Assembly says the hacker group Anonymous could be a threat to member nations based on attacks to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and H.B. Gary. Speaking about Anonymous, the report says the longer these attacks persist, the more likely countermeasures will be developed, implemented, the groups will be infiltrated, and perpetrators persecuted. The draft also asked NATO members to build international treaties like the Council of Europe's Convention on Cybercrime, which harmonizes cybercrime laws between different nations.
Yesterday, Lodsys filed patent infringement lawsuits against 7 independent mobile developers and blamed Apple. Lodsys says they felt forced into filing the suits after a letter from Apple's head of legal caused them to worry about keeping their legal options open. According to a copy of Apple's own iOS developer agreement, Apple's limit of liability to any developer is a maximum of $50, so Apple is not under any contractual obligation to assist developers or assure that their use of Apple APIs doesn't infringe third-party patents or other IP. In short, the saga continues.
We're suing you because you can't afford to defend yourself, but we're going to blame them.
Yeah.
Because we don't like them.
Your move, Apple.
This is getting dirty.
I know.
All right, time now for some numbers.
Whoop, whoop.
We got numbers all galore. All right, the Pew study for Internet American Life. Those Pew people, you know.
Yeah, the Pew people.
Yeah, we know
Lasers.
those.
Yeah, Pew Internet. They say that use of Twitter is rising, particularly among aged 25 to 34. Now, remember, for a while, the conventional wisdom was, oh, it's only the older people who use Twitter, and the younger people don't. Well, it turns out that 25 to 34-year-olds are using Twitter 19% of Internet users. I said that backwards, but 19% of Internet users, 25 to 34, are using Twitter. That's up from 9% in November of 2010, last time they did this survey. Overall, Twitter is being used by 13%, or Twitter jumped to 14% in May from 7% in November of Internet users. But it's still, it's not everybody.
No, but more than it was.
Yeah,
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, 13% of online adults.
Yeah, Facebook's somewhere up around 700 million now.
1 out of 8 people now use Chrome. These are the latest worldwide browser usage share stats from Net Applications. And they have a nice chart out with this showing the advance of Chrome. Chrome is shown in yellow on the chart. In October 2009, it makes up a tiny little thing, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Firefox pretty much remains stable, and Internet Explorer is in a steady decline. Safari, Opera, and others all pretty stable. Although Safari has grown a little bit.
Grown a tiny bit.
Yeah.
It looks like Firefox has shrunk just a little.
Opera really has just kind of stayed the same.
Yeah,
the
and
entire way through.
Opera went from 2.1% to 2% in this last survey. Safari 7.2 to 7.3%. Firefox is around 21.6%, also pretty stable. Internet Explorer had the biggest decline from 55.1% to 54.3%. And Cisco released their latest annual Visual Networking Index. This is a regular report on how people are using the internet and forecasting it into the future. 965.5 exabytes per year are expected to be used by 2015. 40% of the world's population will be online, and internet video will account for 61% of all consumer traffic in that year. They project that P2P would decline significantly to just 16%. And Wi-Fi in 2015 will just begin to overtake wired IP traffic for the first time.
Oh, no, think of the children. The Wi-Fi could destroy them.
The rashes that people will break out in will be devastating. But yeah, just some numbers to give you some perspective. Cisco always has these interesting numbers. A lot of exabytes and a lot of video. But Reed Hastings said at D9 today that he's not worried about the exaflood, that there's plenty of room on the backbone, and he thinks that the ISPs are going to solve the other part.
I wonder if Ohm Malik has exaohm as a domain. That'd be kind of cool. Gigaohm is already like
in case.
Yeah.
So last year.
That should be the premium version of Gigaohm should be called exaohm. Yeah.
And the intermediate is
totally.
teraohm.
That one's for free ohm.
Yeah.
All right, on to the calendar.
Google's released a limited number of Samsung Chromebooks for sale on Gilt.com. That's GILT. Starting today at 12 p.m. Eastern, which is 9 a.m. Pacific, to select users who received an email. Turns out Tom Merritt received an email.
Oh, yeah, I got my email.
Came from Google, but it came a little too late.
I came at 1:24 p.m. Pacific. That's they went on sale at 9 a.m. So by the time I got the email and clicked on it, they were all sold out.
Well, Google loves you. No CR48, no Chromebook. There you go, pal.
So I wonder what the issue was. Because I know how, even with like sunglasses and shoes, Gilt sales sell out real quick for anything that's in high demand, which I would assume Chromebooks would be.
Yeah. Chromebooks will go on sale for real June 15th, so I guess I'll
better
wait.
luck then.
I wanted to wait anyway. I don't have time to mess with that stupid Chromebook.
Over-the-air Gingerbread 2.3 update is now available for Droid X users. Google Offers is rolling out in Portlandia, Oregon, also known as Portland. It's how they used to be known. Tomorrow, San Francisco and New York City will launch this summer for Google Offers. Pretty fun. Portland gets the square for that one. HTC Sensation 4G is hitting T-Mobile stores by June 15th. It'll be around $200. Roku is bringing casual gaming to its internet TV platform, starting with...
Casual gaming. What could they be starting with?
Well, it's this obscure game.
Just to demonstrate the ability to play casual games. What's it about?
There's birds.
Birds.
It's some sort of kind of like a... strife.
It's like a conflict.
They're upset. Okay. Yeah, it's angry birds. I think
Never heard of
the
it.
name of the. Yeah, I don't know. It might be a hit. Who knows? And August 1st, Google Apps will no longer support Safari 3, Firefox 3.5, or IE7.
Now, those are all old versions, so don't freak out. They're not supporting Safari, Firefox, and IE.
Well, unless you're using those right now.
Just the older versions of those. IE7, you should have long upgraded from, because we're on IE9 now.
Yeah.
Firefox 3.5. 3.6 and 4 have been out for a while, so Safari 3 is probably the one I would guess more people are on than the other two.
I would assume
by percentage anyway. Obviously, more people are going to be on IE7 because there's more people who use IE7.
If you're a Google Apps user, definitely look at your versions.
Or use Chrome.
Yeah, just use Chrome.
Or that.
Or Opera. On to the email to TNT@twit.tv. Steve in York, Pennsylvania wrote in and said, you recently discussed the announcement of the WHO changing their classification of cell phones. One of the types of cancer you mentioned was an acoustic neuroma. I perused the WHO press release, and it does indeed mention this type of tumor. I currently have a larger acoustic neuroma, about 3.7 centimeters, and I'm about to undergo surgery. Both surgeons I'm dealing with assure me they are always benign, and all the resources I've looked at on the web seem to agree. Just thought I'd let you know, since every resource seems to imply it's cancerous, even the WHO announcement. So that's very good to know, Steve. And if you don't know the backstory here, we were talking about the WHO's working group saying that they're going to put cell phone radiation in the possibly cancerous, possibly cancer-causing, carcinogenic category, because there is indeterminate indications from the literature. So we can't say for certain that it does or doesn't cause cancer at this point. And there were two types of tumors they mentioned. One, glioma, which we know is cancerous in some cases. The other was the acoustic neuroma, which Steve is right, apparently always benign. So not good to possibly cause a tumor, but at least it's a benign tumor if, in fact, cell phone radiation causes it, which we don't know.
Right.
That's all that the WHO was saying.
In any case, thanks for writing in, Steve. Matt Wolf sent an email. Hi, Tom, Sarah, and Linux hater Iyaz. He teases.
Sure he does.
Just think, says Matt, it's been 365.25 days since Tom and Sarah started at TWiT officially. It's also been 365 days since The Beard and the Blonde. That's right, that was episode 1 of the Best Tech News Today. Just want to wish you all a happy anniversary and just say here's to many more years of The Beard, the Blonde, and the Linux hater.
Obviously, Sarah's the beard in that case. I'm the blonde.
Clearly.
Yeah.
I should have called it New Yorker at the beginning of the show. I don't know why. I went straight to Pakistan.
Well, we still don't include Jason on
He's
this.
from Queens.
I know. It's just,
yeah, we got. So we have to include Jason, which obviously you would be the tall guy.
Yeah. The height, not so challenged.
Right.
The
height, totally not challenged
at all.
Height is not even a challenge for you.
Right. Exactly.
So
that flows. The
vertical
well, I think.
show off.
Oh, okay. All right.
Two beards, tiny, and the tall one. Not sure.
Take the show on the road.
I know.
Vaudeville reborn.
But thanks, Matt. It's been a very cool year.
All right, folks. Don't forget, you can get a brick in our new TWiT studios that are opening later this summer. We're selling bricks that you can put a special message on, any message you want. Visit bricks.twit.tv to find out how to buy a brick and be a part of history, or at least the history of
Well, the
TWiT.
message doesn't have to be special either. You can write anything. You
can
say
write,
hello.
What? On there.
Hello, world.
Yeah.
Could be a fun brick.
If somebody hasn't written that,
It's going to be there like 60 times.
Somebody ought to. Or you can put code. You could put 10, print, hello. 20, go to 10.
Yeah, go nuts.
Or if you don't know what to put on there, just put brick.
This is not a brick. And be all ironical. Anyway, bricks.twit.tv. Thanks, everybody, for watching us. All of you who were here June 1, 2010, thank you for sticking with us for a year. We'll be back tomorrow with another fine episode of Tech News, handcrafted by our artisans for your consumption pleasure. You can find us on the web at twit.tv/TNT. You can email us TNT@twit.tv and give us a call, 260-TNT-SHOW. It's a free call in Butler, Indiana. See you tomorrow.